Hi, and welcome to another installment of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed, the Mind Management Mentors podcast. Coming up to about 35,000 subscribers now. Thank you very much to absolutely everybody who's tuned in, liked, and subscribed, and clicked the bell so you get updates from the YouTube channel. And yes, we are mainly only on YouTube. That is the vessel that I'm using and the platform that I'm using. So come to YouTube. Obviously, you are because you're watching this podcast. However, today is all about mental health, and it is about your journey and your success using the one of many channels, because this podcast is all about finding solutions, James. There's three parts to the podcast, which is workplace wellness, people's stories, and how coaches can learn important things to get moving on their journey of coaching, which is a powerful part. So today we're going to be talking mental health, actually. And James, you're well versed in this. So James, introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, what you do.
Good morning, Cuddy. So my name is James King, and I am the managing director of a course tour group, which we train as Ultimate Scottish Tours and Events. I run that with my partner and fiancée Nikki, and it's a brand new business. Having had a time as a tour guide and just felt like I could do things a little bit better compared to everyone else. And I think everyone's kind of like that when they work within a business and they decide, they think they can do it better themselves, and I admire that. It's courage. It's proving to yourself that you can try and do something without things getting in the way. So yes, that's where we are. We are a sightseeing tour agency. We create day tours all over Scotland, and we deal with very large groups. For example, we have a group from North Carolina coming over next month to get married in Scotland, and we're taking them out as well on a 2-day tour. And over and above that, we helped with their wedding as well. So that's kind of the gist of our business. We want to help people. We want people to kind of experience what Scotland is like.
Oh, yeah.
And it's people. Now, I don't typically look Scottish, as you can see.
Me neither, I'm not.
But that is because I am half Filipino. I was actually born in the Philippines, and my mum and dad brought myself and my twin sister to Scotland just when we were very, very young bubbas. And we've been here ever since then, raised in Scotland, went to school, high school, stuff like that. So very well versed in Scotland itself, and it's something that I am very, very passionate about as well and want to share with people all over the world.
I, I, I and a lot of the times in this podcast, I just did a podcast with someone from India and talking about the biases that we have actually as human beings. And I know we've met before at a networking event, James, and
Yep.
I would never, to be fair, I would never have thought Filipino.
Yeah, and that's the thing with it. You could take one look at me and and probably have a guess of where I'm from. I get it all the time. I still do. People think I'm Spanish, Mexican, Pakistani, Indian, Turkish. I get it all the time. And when people begin to hear me talk, then they think, "Oh, I could be on the wrong end of the scale here." So it's happened. It happens all the time. Even when I'm out on tours, people already make that assumption.
Aye.
They do kind of judge a book by its cover, but until you get to know me and things that I've been through, you'll get to realise a lot more than just the ethnicity behind me.
Yeah. I genuinely, I mean, I would, on meeting you, James, I would have thought that your descent was Indian. To be fair,
Mm-hmm.
that's on meeting you, obviously not with your accent and things like that, but I
Yeah.
genuinely would have thought. So when you said you were Filipino, and I've got a lot of Filipino friends, by the way, a lot of Filipino friends. It's actually one of the nicest cultures I've ever met, to be fair.
We are very, very friendly people.
Really are, because I used to work on cruise ships, so a lot of the staff and employees were from the Philippines.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. A fantastic culture. So how long have you been in Scotland, James?
Since I was two.
Two
Since I
years
was two.
old.
I am now. I turned 40 last year.
Well, you don't look 40. I would not have put you a day over 39.
I get that a lot, to be honest with you. People don't expect me to to be the age I am. I actually met someone yesterday regarding a collaboration, and when they first looked at me, they're like, "There's, you look like you're in your 20s," and I'm like, "I'm actually 40, mate." And the guy I was meeting was actually younger than myself. And so yeah, I get it all the time. I get ID'd for alcohol. I get, I,
Really?
yeah, I do. I get ID'd for alcohol. So if I take these glasses away, I do, and I've had a shave, then I'll look a lot younger. But yeah, I've been ID'd for a number of things, even a lottery ticket, which is crazy.
Wow. I mean, that's a compliment, to be fair.
It's a compliment. I'm used to it now.
I do walk into pubs and say I have got ID, but they never ask me for it. They never ask me for it. So, James, the whole premise of today's podcast is you've got an event coming up in Edinburgh towards the end of September. But before we get to that part, we're going to talk about the journey from where you were in those dark times
Mhm.
to why you found purpose now, especially with the event that you're running.
Mhm.
So we really want to go back, way back in time. Some people call it timeline therapy, but let's go through the journey of James and to where you are now, because it's that transformation. Because this podcast is all about people hearing it and going, "That's where I am.
Mhm.
That's where I am." Right. So now I've got an option. The whole premise of the mind management mentors is trust me when I tell you, if it's in the mind, it can be managed. And some of the scariest stories and beliefs that we create are created up here, and our brain just starts believing them. So we get stuck with that crippling anxiety just because of a belief. And we know it goes much deeper than that, but that's the story that we're going to be telling is James King's story. So talk to me about where your age, whereabouts were you, and when you found yourself in that dark spiral, spiraling down.
For me, eh, now, currently, things have begun to make sense about the journey that I've been through. But for me, looking back to all, it probably stemmed from when I lost my mother to breast cancer at the age of 21.
Right.
I was always a mummy's boy, always a mummy's boy, and had a great relationship with my mum. And when I was 17, 18, I moved out, wanted to start my new job, wanted to find out where I belonged in a career. And it was breast cancer that took her away from us. And that left a massive hole in my life. I wasn't close with my dad at the time growing up. It was my mum did everything for me. She took me to football training. She took me to rehearsals for theatre. She was always there. She was always very supportive. My dad worked a lot, so it was always hard for him to attend certain things. But after I lost my mum to breast cancer, I really didn't know who I was. I really didn't know what to do with myself, who to speak to, how to deal with the overall situation. And I just basically plodded on with life, but I kept myself very kind of closed because I didn't want to get hurt even more from what I had already been going through. And for the best part of maybe 10 years since my mum passed, I was in a very dark hole. It wasn't just the passing of my mum. I was influenced by the wrong people. We dealt with drugs. We took drugs. I just wasn't in the right frame of mind, and I decided that I wanted to change that part of my life and try and do something else. I've always strived to try and have my own business and make a name for myself and leave something behind, because my family isn't very big. There's my twin sister and my two nieces, and there's just my dad. My fiance's family is absolutely massive, so getting used to this whole family culture of visiting them, barbecues and stuff like that was just something I didn't experience growing up, because I was so focused on my education, focused on how to achieve and be ambitious. So part of that adult life, there was people I was involved with, which I no longer am. I chose to walk away from them. And one of the reasons why I walked away from them was because of their treatment towards me when I was in a very dark place.
Mm.
Um, it felt as if things were still old-fashioned for men. At the time of the poor mental health I was going through, I didn't know who to talk to. I was scared to even open up to anyone. I didn't want to burden people with the problems that I had. But the problem I had was just finding who I really was, because I was taken, I was basically following all these friends that I had, socialized with them, did things with them, and never really thought about anything else. I hadn't had the grief addressed with my mum's passing.
Mm.
And then when things got really, really tough, that's when I really began to find out the true colours of people. People that have said to me, drop me a message and I'll come running. Give me a phone call. I'm available to speak to you. If you're ever feeling down, I'm here. And those people, I don't know why they say these things, but when it comes to it, they don't actually follow through. There's times where I've sent messages to people that I really needed to turn to. I didn't have any other help, and I just thought, well, they've told me that, that they'll have an ear to listen to and to my issues, and it was just nothing in return. You were sending messages, people were reading them, but weren't acknowledging it, weren't getting back to me. I felt lost. I felt like no one wants to help. And this was a time where I felt, as a guy in my late 20s, early 30s, what help is really out there. And it was still a stigma. It was still something that people really didn't know how to handle, or it was just the whole, just keep the chin up, man up. Some of these expressions just didn't help. And it really brought me into such a dark place that it was round about 5 or 6 years ago, I did try and take my life. And this was during a very abusive, narcissistic marriage with my ex-wife. Very controlling, it was always her way. It didn't matter what happened or if things were her fault, it was never her fault. Never her fault. Never took responsibility of her actions, and just made me feel like a touch. So I endured that for quite some time, looking back at my mum and dad's marriage. There was, they were together for years and
Mm.
years. And I wanted that for myself.
Yeah.
I had a plan. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to start a family. And now that I'm 40, I'm still want that. But obviously, as you get older, things do change. So yeah, I really wanted all of this with my ex-wife, and it just turned into a nightmare. I don't want to go into too much of her,
Mm.
um, but she had BPD, she had functional neurological disorder. There was a lot of unaddressed issues on her part, which made me understand the reasons why she was the person she was.
Mm.
But it got too much, and it was at this point when a friend of mine came unexpectedly to my house because he knew I was so down that what I'm about to say may be distressing to some people, but I really want to get this out there. In that day my friend came to see me, I was already contemplating hanging myself. I had a noose ready in the living room, and I was back and forth with a friend all day, who now I call one of my best mates, and he unexpectedly turned up later on that evening when the police were already at my house. the whole the whole situation was a lot, but it really got to the point where something needs to change. And I needed to try and reach out to someone, or a group of some sort. I'd always seen Andy Mann's Club Scotland, and my partner actually had a fundraiser for them a couple of years ago, which they done very well here in Dunfermline. And it was at that point that things just started to kind of make sense for me about, their message and what they can do to help. And I didn't want to let this ruin me. I really didn't. And it's extremely hard to try and be in that frame of mind of positivity when everything around you is falling apart.
Yeah.
So you're looking round about COVID when this all happened. When I left my ex-wife, I was homeless, didn't have a car, didn't have any income, was in a homeless accommodation which I wasn't allowed to decorate or change. So I was in these same four walls for the duration of COVID. And when you couldn't see anyone, when you couldn't visit anyone at that time, it was so difficult. My mind was just all over the place. Since COVID, things have obviously gotten better. I've decided to make a few changes in my life and go in the direction that I want to. I've always been the type of person that always thought about what other people thought of me. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, they will have a thought or judgment about me, but whether I know that person or not, I choose not to let it affect me. I'm doing things for myself. I'm doing things for my future. And this is where we are now. Since COVID and things started to kind of be lifted, that was when I was offered a job as a tour guide. And I've got a PCV license, which allows me to drive coaches. And it was something that I thought I would be really, really good at. And ever since then, I've absolutely loved my job. I've loved meeting people from all over the world and telling them things about Scotland, things that they didn't know, and even stuff even I didn't know, because the job itself, you're still learning. There's so much history about Scotland and so many places to see. You just can't fit it all in your head.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so since then, worked with a couple of tour companies, and even though the overall experience was great, being treated as an employee was a completely different story. A lot had happened. Again, you know, you would think I've got the most bad luck in the world for one guy, but during my time as a tour guide, my sister was then diagnosed with a brain tumour. And at this point, I was like, I've not gotten over the grief or the death of my mum yet. And if anything happens to my twin sister, I don't know what I'm going to be like. So I chose to be there for her, chose to try and be helpful the best way I could. My job was just put in the back burner. That wasn't my priority. My family was my priority. Unfortunately, my employer didn't see it that way, who's a family business. And I had to take a lot of time off work just to be there for my sister and help and assist. And it's one of those choices that you can make in your life where, you know, if a family member's ill, do you let them carry on with it, or do you just carry on with your daily job? And for me, my family is everything. Like I says in the beginning, I have a very small family, don't have many family members. And, you know, so it's everything to me. And during that time, I was let go from my employer because basically I cost them a lot of money and cancelled tours. And I just thought, wow, what a kick in the balls, you know, don't you have a contingency plan? Don't you have another driver? And it was at that point, my fiance turned around to me and says, just do your own business, run it yourself, run it how you want it. And that brings me to now. So the business was started January last year, and we just wanted to slowly build it up, get the brand out there, get the logo out there so people know who we are and where we're from. And have our recently bought a Mini Cooper to have it stickered up, and after 3 days the clutch went on the car. So it's just been one thing after another, and it's how you deal with these situations that can actually make you or break you. So like he says, I've had a tremendous amount of bad luck over the years, but I don't want that to stop me from achieving something, doing something for myself. And I want men out there to realise that if they're currently in this situation where they can relate to what I've been through on my journey. I want them to know that there is now people out there that you can talk to, from Andy Man's Club Scotland to a number of other men's mental health groups. Even Tartan Talkers is something I also noticed as well, which seems to be starting up. So it's good that things are going in the right direction for men's mental health, but there's still a lot of kind of stigma around it, which some people just don't understand. But we're not here to make them understand. We're here to make them really kind of look at the whole overall situation of men's mental health and where can they help. I want to help in any way I can. And one of the things that I've found really, really good. So since a child, I've always played computer games, and even now I do. But that's my form of escapism from daily life, from my work, from some of the issues I've got to deal with. You have to try and not deal with it all at once and try and take a break, take that your mind away from something that is causing the anxiety to go through the roof or causing you to worry. So I do a lot of online gaming with my friends who we see this opportunity to talk to one another. So there's a couple of friends that all have their own issues. I don't want to go into it personally, but I choose to be there for them because they've been there for me. And this network that we now have is so solid that I know for a fact that if I was in, having a really, really bad day, I can turn to my friend George or Lee, or Scott, Kyle, whoever, and say, listen, how you's doing? You's up for a couple of games later, could do with a chat. And this is the thing, when you're online with them, you're not just playing a game, you're finding out how someone's day's been. You can tell by the way they talk that maybe they're just not their usual self. And it's a great form of escapism for us to get things off our chest. And I feel that as well, the gaming community in the world is vast, obviously male dominated, but I think there's a way there that people can help each other when it comes to mental health as well through gaming. But anyway, I am now in a much, much better position. I am getting help. I'm still getting help. And it's always a good thing. Even if you feel that I've knocked this out the park, I wouldn't make that assumption, because there's so many things that can just get to us. And, my partner will tell you, if something gets a bit too much for me, it just takes over. I start thinking about things, I'm getting paranoid. But there's things that I do that helps me ground myself. And my partner's one of them. She's absolutely amazing. She's a good listener. She's aware of my mental health, and she knows, if I am having a bad day, whether to let me be, or if the time is right, she'll come and speak to me. Because we all have our own ways of dealing with things. The habit for me was just bottling up. But now I've learned to try and speak up more and realise that don't think about anyone else, just think about yourself. Think about what you want to say and get out, because the more it just stays inside, it will eat at you to the point where you just don't know what else to do. And I just want men and anyone that is struggling to realise that they're not alone. That there is people there that has been through or going through what they're going through, and me personally, I just want to help anyone that is experiencing that. So this kind of leads me to the event.
Hold your horses. We're not there yet, James. We're not there
Okay.
yet. No, we're not there yet. So I have some questions, because
Yes.
it's a very similar story that you're talking about, but until somebody knows actually what is bad mental health, what is good mental health. So what we can do now is we can recognize. So when you say that you were in your dark space, what was it that, even though you might not have known how bad you were, clearly there was a loss of identity. And I talk about this a lot with my clients, and the world is identity is one of the most powerful drivers of who we are. And if we don't know who we are, In
Mhm.
fact, one of the coaching sessions that I do with my clients is who are you? And a lot of people can't answer it. And that's a lot of the time where people's actual lack of focus, lack of purpose, and that high sense of self-worth can come from is not knowing who we are.
Yep.
So for you, James, what was or how do you now know you were in a bad mental health place? What was it that you can now recognize and go, I'm heading towards the spiral again. I've now got an opportunity because that's self-awareness. That's a really powerful thing. So,
Mhm.
what was bad mental health for you? Was it internal conversations? Were they feeling? What was it? Was it emotional outbursts? What was it?
It was pretty much almost anything really. The emotional outbursts happened a lot.
Yep.
Looking back at it, I lost who I was. I
Yep.
completely lost the guy that I was. When you look at my background, my mum and dad were very successful. My mum was a nurse. My dad was an offshore oil rig worker. Very, very happy upbringing that we had. And then coming into adulthood, um, I obviously just had free reign since losing my mum. My mum was always the one that kind of kept me
Yeah.
reined in.
Yeah.
She knew what was right for wrong, but she was also from a culture in the Philippines that was very, very protective of women. My mum went to an all girls school in the Philippines and then became a nurse. So growing up, my sister was more protective. Sorry, she was more protective of my sister than she was of myself.
Yeah.
She could trust me. So um, when I knew things were really, really bad was when I kind of looked back at the things that I'd done, the people that I um, had friendships with, to the actions I took. Because I do not have a squeaky clean record. I look back at my life, there's a criminal record there, which is through um, my ex, my ex-wife, things that I'm not proud of. For example, there is assault on my criminal record, and it's because of a racial incident that I had. And normally, I would, looking back, I would just lose the plot. And I actually hurt the guy for being racist towards me, regardless of your age or who you are. I'm not going to take racism at all. But the thing is, obviously, I dealt with it wrongly. Looking back at that, I should have just got back in the car and driven away, but I just seen red, and that's not me. Looking back, there was a lot of times where I lost my temper. I lashed out. I spoke down to other people, and it was, I don't know if it was the mentality that no one fucking cared about me. So why
We
should I?
lash out, right? We lash
Yeah,
out. We don't
yeah.
we don't feel loved. We don't feel like we're being heard. So we're like, it's the old adage of hurt people, hurt people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So if we're
and that's
feeling hurt, we think, well, fuck it, I'll start lashing out to the whole world because everyone's that's a state of consciousness that we find ourselves in, and it's like where we blame the world for how we're feeling.
yeah. And that was the one thing that kind of really hit me
Yeah,
was how much I lashed out, how much I lost my temper, how much, because that was never me.
yeah,
I was always a very laid back kind of, just go with the flow kind of guy.
yeah,
But during that time, I didn't care. I didn't care who I hurt. I didn't care who I spoke to. After everything I'd went through, what was the point of me caring
mm,
for other people when I should have felt cared in my darkest times?
yeah,
So yeah, lashed out. The emotions was incredible,
yeah,
and it led me into an even worse, darker place. So there was loads of things that happened. I mean, like I said to you before, I always wanted to have my own business. Back in 2012, I ran. I was a chef for a local restaurant and seen a gap in the market for cheesecake, um, and started making them at home for about a year before this guy came along and said, I'll invest in your idea." And in June 2013, I opened the first cheesecake shop in Scotland. It was
Mm.
called the Caledonian Cheesecake Company. And it turned out my business partner isn't who he said he was.
What a surprise. We've all been there, but carry
Yeah,
on.
I mean, when the shop opened, there was my fiance at the time, back then. It was his wife, and it was the four of us that was in the shop. And it was mainly myself that made all the cakes. Back then, when we first opened, we were sold out by 10:30 in the morning. It was absolutely mental. Now, see if TikTok and stuff like that was really at its peak back then, I would have seen the business absolutely thrive through social media. But we were still building ourselves. But I managed to build about 15,000 followers on Facebook in the first year of just doing it myself at home. But the business partner then brought in another lassie who was actually his best friend's partner. And it turned out the two of them were having something going on. And this just got to the point where this guy doesn't care. Doesn't care that his wife is working for our company and is having an affair with someone else. He doesn't care that he's going behind his best mate's back. And this is all within my business, a business I built. He only invested into the idea. He has no experience in the food industry, restaurant industry, hospitality industry. The guy just works offshore and has cash. But he's seen a great opportunity to invest in the Cheesecake Company. It got to the point we then opened our second shop in Stirling. And I didn't want to do that. I'm the type of person that likes to build my business slowly and not get too big too quick. But because there was money in the bank, he thought, let's open a second shop. Let's get the unit open. We'll spend money on these fridges, blah, 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 blah. But it was me that was working 22 hours a day, making these cheesecakes and getting them ready for customers. It was me that came out on Christmas Eve when the freezer broke down to redo all the cakes. So from that point onwards, it was really a case of, do I continue the business with this guy, or do I step away from it? But there was a lot more that I found out there afterwards that made me realise he was just an absolute liar to me overall. This was just a quick kind of a quick job to maybe make some cash. But for me, it was a career. For me, it was that was my baby. And then shit hit the fan. Fiance left me, lost my car. He was trying to strike off the business and company's house. And I was still a shareholder at this point. I still had a say. But he just went behind my back. So I just completely wrote it off and just thought, again, why are people doing this to me? You know, I'm wanting to have a career. I want to do well for myself. And then I'm just getting completely fucked over. Excuse my language.
No, it's okay.
So from then onwards, it was a roller coaster. It really was. And that was back in 2013, and we're now in 2025. So for up until kind of like COVID, 2021 was when I completely came away from all of that. And I just said to myself, what am I going to do here? Do I stay in the same place where people know me, where I've grew up most of my life, but sadly just lost myself and lost my identity, and go somewhere else? But then that whole overthinking and what other people think comes into it, because it's like, if I move here, do people think I'm running away from something? Blah, blah, blah. So it just got to the point where I decided to move away from my hometown and just start over all over again. Get rid of the people that I was dealing with as friends and stuff like that. Get rid of anyone that caused negativity in my life, and just start afresh and concentrate on myself. And that's what I did. I was working hard as a tour guide. My girlfriend at the time, now my fiance, had suggested that I move to her, and she's in Dunfermline, and we decided it was probably the best thing to do, because I worked such long hours. My dog was also kind of neglected ever so slightly,
Mhm.
So she stepped in and says, listen, while you go to work, I'll look after the dog and you can come back and pick him up. And instead of that, I ended up just moving in. It was just something that we agreed. Things happened between the two of us. And yeah, since then, my life has gotten better and better and better to the point now where, I'm starting this tour company. I'm wanting people to realize what we are as a business, because some of the unique things that we want to do is take into account everything that's going on in the world right now. For example, the cost of living. Even myself, I'm feeling the pinch of the cost of living, and I think that there's a lot of jobs out there where salaries and hourly rates just don't reflect the current society that we're in right now. A weekly shop is like 100 quid, 120 quid compared to like years ago when it was like 30 or 40. So things are changing, and as a business, we want to change with the times as well. So one of the things that we want to do is that when tour guides work for us, we actually want to pay them a lot more than what the usual guides normally get. We want to pay them the best rate in Scotland, and this way, a lot of the guides will also see, well, I actually want to work for them because they're paying us good money, and it's a job that everyone would love to do is
Oh,
be a tour.
aye.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And this was the thing growing up in Scotland. I didn't growing up. History was not my thing when I was at school. I absolutely hated history with a passion. But now, as you get older and you mature, I'm now thinking of places to go that's nearby for me and the missus to go and visit with the dogs. If it's a
Yeah.
local farm, if it's a beach or something like that. So it's all these little hidden gems, and it's not just visiting them out of curiosity. It's also for my knowledge as well that I can pass on to people that come on tour with us as well. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster up until now, mate.
We're still not finished. I've got another
And
really. There's a part I know. Before we go into the event, what was it about Andy's Man Club that helped you move, change? Because they don't do. It's not a therapy place. They don't look for, I
no,
believe
no.
because I work with people for trauma recovery to help their mindset and their mental health, and I'm
Mhm.
solution focused. So you generally come to see Cuddy because look, I'm stuck. And I'm looking to move forward. And we find out what it is, whether it's a trauma, whether it's identity, whether it's a belief system. But I know that that's not what Andy. So what was it about Andy's Man Club that thought that is the one for me? James, tell us why.
For me, it's the pure focus of getting men to speak up, really.
Right.
Because it was something that I couldn't find courage to do years ago. I think that what they're doing is amazing. They're opening up these peer-to-peer groups in certain areas and wanting to spread the awareness
Yeah.
to men to say, listen, this is a safe place to talk. But the thing is, you don't need to talk. You
Yeah.
can attend but not talk whatsoever. And that's great because that person might not be ready to talk. That person might still be able to is still maybe gauging about the group. And they have facilitators as well that do a great job and help these guys interact with each other as well. But for me, what made me choose them was when my partner had a fundraiser for them at Canmore Golf Club in Dunfermline,
Yeah.
and it was at that point I was still working as a tour guide for an employer.
Yeah.
But from what they expressed to us that evening, it was for me. It was like a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
Something is now happening for men's mental health.
Yeah.
And they started it through the fact that sadly a friend had taken his life, and this is how it all began. And for me, like I says, I almost took my own life. I still have the images of that evening when my friend came unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Because if he did, probably wouldn't be speaking to you today.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I want to support them in what they do. I want to show that other than Andy Man's Club, I personally want people to know that there are safe places for men to go and talk to. and if they don't want to, they don't need to, and that's
Yeah.
the great thing, and the Man's Club. But from what I've seen so far, they're now open up at another 3 or 4 groups in Scotland, so it's slowly expanding in a number of areas, and I think by the time they reach their target or initiative that they're hoping to go for, I think hopefully all men will know that there is a safe place to talk.
Yeah. Fantastic. Which brings us to the event. So tell us about this
We've
this
got there
event that
then.
you're organizing. I know we had to
So
get there. We have to put the story in first for people to
yeah,
go, right, what is the event?
so the event is what I called an international ceilidh. Now, because we are a tourism business, we wanted people to experience some of the Scottish traditions that we have, such as a ceilidh. A ceilidh meaning a gathering. And it's always been a tradition of Scotland's, of ours. And basically, I was part of a Facebook group when I was starting the business and getting the brand out there. I was thinking of ways of how to get that brand out there, and I thought there's a lot of these Scottish groups with friendships going on and recommendations of businesses. I thought I'll go into one of those and introduce who I was. It got to the point where I was a guide expert for the group. So everyone had a question about, what to do in a certain area, or, the times that the Glenfinnan, the Jacobite train goes over Glenfinnan Viaduct, especially
Yeah.
for all Harry Potter fans.
I've been over that.
So,
I've been the train. I did the train. It was lovely.
oh, it's good, but over the last couple of few years, there's been a lot going on, especially with the safety of the carriages that they've had.
Really?
Yeah, because those carriages that they've had, it's normally like a bolt that locks the door. So that was a safety concern. So West Coast Railways needed to try and, meet the criteria for the train to be safe and to run on service. So their service actually stopped. I think it was 2 years ago they stopped it, so they couldn't run it because it was seen as unsafe. But that's now changed. But yeah, the Facebook group we were in had something like 40,000 members locally and internationally.
Yeah.
And I thought, here's an idea. We're all really friendly in this group. Why don't I organise a get together like a ceilidh? And everyone's like, oh, that'd be a brilliant idea. The Yanks were like, oh, we'll fly over for it, blah, 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 blah. And then there was one person, always one person that has to
Ha!
ruin it. I'm gonna call her Karen, just for the sake of it. So Karen, so the group itself also does romance dating, and Karen decided to be some sort of Cupid and sort out getting people to speak to each other through the group, whether it's online or email or whatever. It was as if she took on this role herself. And then when the idea of the ceilidh came about, she was like, "Oh, these two have met in the group, and they've got engaged, and they're thinking of joining your ceilidh." And I'm like, "What do you mean join my ceilidh?" And she's like, "Well, they'll have the wedding, and then they'll come out for your ceilidh." And I was like, "So, do you want us to pay for their wedding services?" And this created an uproar between members. Some members were saying that I wasn't being fair. Other members were saying that she's trying to take advantage of me. After weighing it all out, she was taking advantage, because what happened was I picked a venue, picked a date, and it was Dynamic Earth. And she's like, "Oh, can the bride and groom, still come to Dynamic Earth?" And I'm like, I'm really not sure. And but all during this time, Prestonfield House in Edinburgh were like, "We want to host it. We want to host it. We want to host this." So I told them, "This is what Dynamic Earth is doing for us. What can you do?" And they're like, "Oh, well we can do better than that." So it then got switched. So it was originally booked for the 27th of September, but then we switched it to the 26th, which was the only available date with Prestonfield House. And as much as many members were actually fine with the date change, and because I had warned them in a specific group for this event, there was still some that obviously you just can't make happy.
Mm-hmm.
So it it got to the point where Karen was just kicking off. She didn't like my decision. She didn't like the fact that now it's all of a sudden changed. But conveniently enough, the bride and groom were still available on the 26th. So it's like, what are you doing, Karen? What are you trying to do? And for the majority of members, they were like, she's trying to piggyback off your ceilidh. And I was like, it's obvious. So I took myself away from that group because it was negative, because of the toxicity and the narcissism as well from that group. So it's run by one guy in Glasgow, but he has about 20 odd admins who are all Yanks and Americans. And for some reason, most of them are female, and they're all calling the shots, and he's just going along with it. So it was like, we don't need to be in this group. So I've created a brand new group. Everyone that's coming to the ceilidh, that's flying over from America, Australia, Philippines, Switzerland, Portugal, they all followed me, and it was decided that the group itself should specifically be around this international ceilidh. And at the same time, I thought, we'll do this for a really, really good cause, and hope that we can assist in the exposure for Andy Mann's Club Scotland. And we tied it in with them. So the event is in aid of Andy Mann's Club Scotland. We've got a silent auction on as well on the night. There's I've got all of these items myself, by the way. I've worked my bloody arse off. There's a signed Scotland top. There's two of them. One's being given out. So if you attend the ceilidh, you're automatically entered into a draw to win a signed Scotland top, a distillery tour, either Rosebank, Glen Kinchy, and Edinburgh Gin. So that appeals to those that want to attend the event itself. And then you've got the silent auction, which also has a signed Scotland top. It's got a signed Sam Heughan Outlander print. Do you know who Sam Heughan is?
I do not know. Is he
There's a
from?
TV
Is he
show called
from the?
Outlander.
Is he from the TV program? What's it called? Outlander.
Outlander, yeah.
Right.
So
My wife watches that. Yeah.
he plays Jamie Fraser in Outlander. Karen Gillan, who played Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I love Karen. She's funny.
Yeah, so she signed a Funko Pop for us.
Nice.
Lewis Capaldi has also signed a Funko Pop for us. He's also signed a print. There's a signed Nathan Evans CD. Now, obviously, we don't use CDs nowadays, but
it'll come back.
Yeah, this CD is pretty rare. Nathan's written some of his lyrics from, I think it was from one of his earliest releases. So yeah, and there's much more. Napoli tops as well, because Scott McTominay is really big in Italy at the moment, having left Man United to join Lazio last year, and he's now just an icon. So they won the Serie A league in Italy. So we've got a signed top for Scott McTominay, and then we've got actually a full signed top by the Napoli players, including Scott McTominay and Billy Gilmore, the two Scottish players that plays for the club. So there's lots going on. Then the evening itself, you'll arrive to a Guard of Honour by George Heriot Pipe Band School, who will be playing the Guard of Honour as you get your welcome drink. There'll be photos at the sponsor's wall. 3-course set dinner, entertainment. We've got Highland dancers, Elizabeth Golan Highland dancers. We've got Hugh Donald Mackay of Mackay Piping, who's going to be doing the address to the haggis. And then obviously we've got Vinnie McKee, who's the finalist on Britain's Got Talent this year. Simon's Golden Buzzer. So he's going to be performing his version of 500 Miles at the event as well. And we've had confirmation from Susan Boyle's manager that they've accepted our invite, but we haven't heard from them since earlier in the year. So it is a case of are they coming or are they not? And this is one of the things with running this event is that, having, gone through a period of your life where you get paranoid or you're overthinking shit, it's something like this. Is they've told me that she's coming. That's all I know. So it's a case of, is she really or is she no? Because I've not heard from them in quite a while.
Yeah.
Because, if they needed a car to take them to the venue, for example, we just don't know. And Vinnie McKee, who's a big fan of Susan Boyle as well, would love to do a duet. So I've hooked his manager up with them, and they've not heard from her either. So it really is, it's all up in the air. We don't know, but we're just still going to plod on
So what's
with
the
the
date of the
event.
event?
It's the 26th of September. It's a Friday.
And where is it?
Prestonfield House in Edinburgh, at the very foot of Arthur's Seat.
Oh, Prestonfield. What?
Prestonfield House.
House. That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
Prestonfield House, Edinburgh. Perfect. It sounds like a fascinating. Now, for anyone watching this and they think, well, we've gone multinational, obviously, they're like, why is a ceilidh spelt the way it's spelt, Kaylee? And what is a ceilidh?
So a ceilidh, like I said earlier, is a
Yep.
gathering of people.
That's right.
So it's been shown traditionally that people will gather, they'll drink, they'll talk, and that's just really what it is. But then you've got the dances that come into it as well.
Yeah.
So growing up in Scotland, in high school, we had what was called social dance, and they taught you all these dances, such as the Gay Gordons, the Dashing White Sergeant, and so forth. And they taught you all these dances. And back then, when you're a teenager and you're getting told to dance with a girl and you're pulling your sleeves up so you didn't hold their hands, I generally didn't know what this dance was for. And it was over time, from Christmas to Hogmanay and stuff like that, people were doing these dances, and that's always kind of been really the tradition of a ceilidh dance is to bring people together. We all have fun. We just forget about everything else, right? Forget about everything else, and that was one of the things that I said I had pitched to Susan Boyle's manager is, listen, love to invite you, just forget about the stresses of scheduled events and performances, just coming along and enjoy yourself. And they absolutely love the idea. And that's what we want to do is bring people together. It doesn't matter where you're from, what you're going through, anyone is welcome. We've also made the ceilidh LGBTQ plus friendly, because at the end of the day, we are told to be ourselves. And if that means that you are gay, bi, lesbian, etc., etc., we're not going to judge you on that, like some people do, or like some companies have chosen to not be associated with it in one way or another. For us, we accept everyone. And this is the thing, when you accept people for who they are, they become more themselves. They become more relaxed. And we just want anyone to come along and enjoy the evening. And like I said, it's in the aid of Andy Man's Club Scotland. So if you're a strong supporter of men's mental health, and you can associate yourself with the journey that I've been through, I'd love to meet you. I'd love you to come along and show your support for Andy Man's Club.
How much are the tickets for the event, James?
So the tickets are £100 a head now.
It's a big event. It's lovely.
Yes. Well, this was the thing when I was pricing the tickets. For people flying over from America, from Canada, for example, they had a lot of other finances to consider, such as flights and stuff like that. So I wanted to make it affordable and hopefully just cover all the outlay of the event. Because for me, like I said, we don't want to take profit from this. We just want to get our brand out there and exposed to people, and to let people know what we can do as an event. So it's £100 a ticket. it was an early bird offer, and then it was going to jump up to 125, but we're just going to leave it at £100.
Yeah.
I can get tickets on our website or on Eventbrite as well. Just type in International Ceilidh and Eventbrite, and it'll pop up for you.
Perfect. James, I know I'm very aware of the time, and I know how we talked here. So, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up? Any final thoughts from James King?
My final thoughts is, so for anyone out there that is struggling, that just doesn't know what to do, I'll happily take a message from you. You can message our business page, which is Ultimate Scottish Tours and Events, and just let us know if you're having a shitty time, or if if you need someone to talk to. I'm more than happy to quickly jump on my phone and have a quick chat with you and just make sure everything's okay. But for those that are interested in the event, we are requiring sponsors as well.
Yeah.
We just secured a sponsor today, which is John White and Sons, who are based in Fife. They are the oldest family business in Scotland. They were founded in 1715. That's how old they are.
What is it they do?
So they do weighing solutions. So, for example, when you go to a dump, for example, in your lorry drives onto these scales, and they design these scales to weigh what is obviously on the back of that lorry, whether it's garbage or steel or whatever, copper. So they design all of these. So like I said, they go back to 1715, one of the oldest companies in Scotland. And it's we spoke to Joyce, who's the managing director today. She's the only female in the company. Only female in the company. So she's doing wonders. And she loved the idea of Andy Man's Club Scotland. So she wanted to buy some tickets and show her support. So if you're a business out there, doesn't matter where you are or what you do, if you would love to buy some tickets and show your support for Andy Man's Club, reach out and speak to me.
Perfect. James, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Mind Management Mentors podcast. It's testament to what we do here at the Mind Management Mentors about, no one has to be alone, and there's always a solution. Even though, and I'll leave this with the really big example for, remember when you think you're being judged or you start caring about what other people think, what everybody thinks about you is a projection from themselves. They're only going to project a version of what they've created about who you are. And that perception and that reality, 99% of the time, is completely wrong. So what other people think of you is a construct of what they're projecting. It's never the real you. The only people that we let in genuinely know the real you. So that's the reason why we shouldn't really give a shit about what other people think about us. Doesn't make it easy, doesn't make it any less hard on ourselves when we get into those older thinking loops to genuinely go, but remember that one takeaway or the several takeaways from this podcast is what other people think of you is none of your business. What you think of yourself is the only thing that matters. And remember, what they're thinking about you is a them problem, not a you problem. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Thank you very much for being part of it. As always, I always finish big love from Cuddy. And remember, if it's in the mind, it can be managed. And you are always more than welcome to reach out to myself for mind management coaching to get you moving to the places you want to be, which is with more confidence, more success, and understanding that trauma lies differently for everybody. And that's the power of brain spotting.